you a little short for a
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. Tonight we are recapping the week's nerdy news from Coast City to Coruscant and everywhere in between. My name is Mike Gibson. With me as always is Ricky Martin. I mean, Steve Haller. What's up, Steve?
One hell of a pre-roll, folks. One hell of a
Yeah,
pre-roll.
really.
So yeah, we had quite a
Quite a
situation
quite a
in the
chat.
pre-roll, so we should be ramped and ready to rock here. Living La Vida Loca with Mike Gibson. I am Steve Haller. We got a lot of news, and by that I mean not a lot of news, but a lot of options for tangents. So
Yeah, that's for sure.
yeah,
big
and
time.
I do have a comic review.
Ooh, nice.
So we're cracking there.
Well, I mean, we'll talk about this more when we get to our extension of last week's Kickstarter call out. I was supposed to read an advanced copy of our Kickstarter call out book from last week and talk about it this week, but our schedules got all switched up and we ended up going Saturday. We're here a night early,
Yeah.
a night earlier than normal. Normally, if we're not on Sunday, it's usually Monday, sometimes even Tuesday, if you can believe it. But now we're going backwards, which is screwing us all up, which was part of the reason for the pre-roll debacle, as Steve was mentioning.
To the point where,
But
I could
in that
not
time, I
remember
didn't have
what
time.
we record this podcast in.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like,
Yeah.
there's software issues, there's hardware issues. I don't know what's
We
going on. Dogs and cats.
Well,
living
mass
together.
hysteria.
Yeah.
We figured it out. We figured out that Steve's brain doesn't usually think about podcast stuff until Sunday night. And then some of it's left over from Monday night if we have to go on Monday night. So that still works. But now we're starting on Saturday. So we're at a point where his brain is completely devoid of all podcast information. So it took a while to just get things rolling. That's the long and short of it, more or less.
Yeah, that's what we ended on. We figured that's ultimately where it is.
That was the conclusion. But because we're going a day early, and I thought that if we were going to do a different day at all, it would be later in the week or whatever. So I didn't have a chance to read my comic review. So I do not have one, but I'm excited to see what yours is because I don't know. And we'll get there when we get there. But we got some other stuff to talk about. First and foremost, we need to make sure you all know that this podcast is sponsored by Funky Town Comics and Vinyl in Camillus, New York, as it always is. A place that I did not get to go to this week, but I'm hoping to go maybe tomorrow and or Monday and pick up my pull for, oh no, now I got to wait till Wednesday. See, it's Saturday, so it's screwing me up. I'm getting screwed up for Saturday. My days are all off.
You can
I got some books coming out Wednesday, so maybe I'll just go Wednesday.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go tomorrow, but maybe I'll just go Wednesday and pick up everything.
Funky Town Comics and Vinyl, who have given me this wonderful copy of Red Hulk #1. And by wonderful, I mean, look at that Frank Miller cover that looks like it's drawn by a 3-year-old. Because I don't know why Marvel keeps trotting Frank Miller out to do these covers, but they seem to, and whatever, he's making money off it, so sure.
They're trotting him out because it's Frank Miller. And his name
I get the name
sells.
recognition, but like,
his name sells.
Did you see those Wolverine covers?
I sure did, Steve. I've seen a lot of the covers he's done recently, and I don't know that he's given it his all. And if I was Frank Miller, I don't know if I would be giving it my all. You know, how Marvel's paying me how much money to, you know, just scribble a weird picture of Wolverine lunging at the camera, and you know,
no.
What does he care?
Part of
he
him
doesn't
was
care if
lunging
people
at
like
the
it or
camera.
not.
The other part of him was not lunging at the camera, and that was part of the problem. So
yeah, but like he doesn't care. He's Frank Miller.
That's true. That is true.
He's earned his phone it in time, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I wish he wasn't, but I'm fine if he wants to
Totally
do that
get it.
and still be Frank
Totally
Miller
get
and
it.
still be paid money. Yeah.
You know
but
what?
that's cool.
Richard,
Red Hulk
actually,
#1.
Richard, as always, Richard in the chat brings up one great point about the Multiverse Report in general. So we are gearing up here on the road to 100 subscribers because right now we have 98.
Whoa.
So I wish I had a way to tell who our 100th subscriber was, because I would give them something.
Yeah. We should.
Maybe we could do a
something?
giveaway at 100 subscribers.
Should we do a giveaway, or should we do like a special episode or something?
I don't know. We should probably figure this out before we hit 100 subs.
Quick.
Yeah, we
Quick,
don't have
hurry
much
up.
time
It
here.
could
So,
happen at any second.
could happen in the middle
Or
of
it
the
could have,
podcast.
yeah, or we could just be at 98 forever. It
Also
could be
true.
like we
That
could
is another
absolutely
option.
top out at 98.
But you know what?
But hey, if you have an idea of what we should do when we hit 100 subscriber, how should we celebrate that? Let us know. Tell
Yeah.
us what we should do.
Oh God.
You can tell us. Submit your ideas by submitting us a 5-star review on Apple,
Yeah.
or Spotify, or wherever. Give us a glowing review. That'd be great.
Or sign up for our Patreon, get access to our Discord. Let us know there. Patreon.com/the Multiverse Report.
We really should record some
We've been saying that for a while.
like watch along things or commentaries.
Yep.
You know? We should really, I know we have been saying it for a while. That's what I'm saying. We should shut up and actually do it.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, now look at the Patreon. There's something that's really fun.
Here's a
there.
carrot on a string. Go.
Yeah,
go
here's
fetch.
us. Listen to us watching Iron Man or whatever the hell. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Be pretty cool. Yeah, 2025, the year we put some energy into the Patreon. Maybe.
That'd be great.
That would be great. Something that I don't think we're going to see this year. Well, I don't really know. No, I think they said it's 2026. So we can't put our energy into it this year, but I'll be putting a ton of energy into it next year. Unless for some reason I completely stop caring about DC Comics and its tons of characters. And I'm
pretty sure you're not going to do that, Mike.
I don't think that's going to happen. We got the first official photo this week from the set of Lanterns. That's right. James Gunn announced via social media that Lanterns has officially begun production. This is the Green Lantern series for HBO. Shared a photo from the set of Kyle Chandler and Aaron Pierre as Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, respectively. And I mean, at face value, it wasn't that exciting of a picture. Like if you showed it to someone who didn't know about Green Lanterns, it's not gonna, one, tell them anything about Green Lanterns, or two, really light their world on fire about this show, because it's just them in street clothes walking down like a cool looking desert road. They look cool for sure, and they look like they're
right
on a mission.
But that could have
something.
Literally been a screenshot from any prestige TV set somewhere in the Western
Pretty
United
much.
States.
Except if you zoom in on Kyle Chandler's hand, he is wearing a Green Lantern ring on his finger, baby. Oh, yeah. So that got me excited.
Oh, yeah.
But you got to zoom in and see it. It's not glaringly obvious. But I was still happy about it. And there's rumors this week that they're already talking about a season 2 for Lanterns, despite it just starting filming.
Okay.
Now, maybe that bodes well because they like the scripts, or things are running smoothly. The production is, not hitting many bumps or whatever. So they're like, yeah, we could do this again. And if it's a hit, I kind of feel like if you get a season 1 of anything, somebody somewhere is talking about whether or not they're going to get a season 2 of this. Like that's got to be like a conversation that happens early on, unless it's a mini series, or unless it's like a really iffy premise. But like you're talking about like recognizable actors portraying, huge intellectual property.
Yeah.
My guess is that they're hoping that they can do a season 2 of this show. They're really hoping that it's good, and they're already prepping ideas for season 2. So if Lanterns hits big, they can already be rolling on season 2. So we don't have to wait, 5 years or whatever between seasons, like a lot of prestige shows force us to do.
Yeah, which it will. I'm sure.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I hope that if they're talking about season 2 now, they can get something rolling. So like, then they can greenlight season 2. Like if episode 1 of season 1 drops and it's huge, they can be like, all right, season 2, go in motion, greenlit, make it. So hopefully it's that, and not waiting until the end of season 1 to start from scratch on season 2 and sign new contracts and get new writers' room up and going, and they should have it ready to go.
Absolutely. Oh, Mike,
so
you'll be amazingly surprised. Guess what I got last week?
I don't know what. Could be anything.
My first Green Lantern book ever. Green Lantern Corps
sure
#1. Oh
like
no, I reviewed that one.
You
copy
reviewed one.
of
You reviewed one.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember that.
Yep.
But did you buy this one yourself?
I did, and I read it too.
Wow.
And it was a
Wow.
book.
What? Okay. What? Okay.
It was
Couple questions.
It was appropriately whelming.
Okay.
I feel like there was a lot going on that, not having my hand on the pulse of the Green Lantern Corps, I would be much more beneficial to having that background.
Green Lanterns are a lot.
It seems
it's a lot. Was it space-based issue, I assume?
Yeah.
The Corps is usually like outer space adventures.
There was a lot. Yeah, there was a lot going
on. What made you buy a Green Lantern book?
I don't know. I saw #1 and was on this DC run and panicked. It's like, what do I do? Okay.
So you're just whelmed. So is it like, are you going to get issue 2?
I don't know. I actually,
all right.
I was thinking about this before. I may actually go back and reread it, because I think the first time I read it, I was just like, there's things happening.
Yeah,
there's a lot happening. Like,
there's a lot.
If you pull up, like League of Comic Geeks usually has like a spotlight of all the characters in the issue. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, including some cameos, but like it's the core of well, it really threw me off also as Sinestro is back with the Green Lantern Corps now.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. So that threw me for a loop.
That's such a comic book thing to do.
Oh, 100%. But
let's bring him back as a good guy, so then he can do a twist again later where the bad guy is actually a bad guy.
Well, so they also portray him as like nobody trusts him, and he's only there for whatever X reason that I can't remember was the reason he's there.
Like a begrudging team up kind of thing.
Right. And so it was like, it's centered on Jon Stewart and Jessica Cruz, and I'm gonna hit my mic.
Oh, cool.
Why not? But
why not?
Yeah, it was just like, okay, there's things happening. Why is Sinestro back here? What's going on? Like Mike and I just talked about Sinestro being the bad guy. Why is my brain hurt?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Well, that's cool. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, there's a lot of like, because there's Green Lanterns have Earth lives and space lives, right? So there's like a lot of Earth background and lore for the characters, and also space background and lore for Green Lanterns at the same time. So it is a ton of stuff. And, like any cosmic comic book, it can get weird and wild and crazy when you're going into the depths of outer space and fighting weird aliens and stuff. So there's a lot there. There's a lot there. But it's fun. It's a fun world. And yeah, it can be an overwhelming because there's like thousands of Green Lanterns, and so there can be just like, tons of like little niche cameos from, this one's a squirrel and this one's got a volcano for a head.
This one's a squirrel. Jesus Christ! What?
Oh yeah.
Huh.
Okay. I can't remember his name, but there's a squirrel one. Yeah, there's a squirrel one, and there is one with a volcano for a head. It's like, it's actually from like, it's like a bust of a volcano. Like once you get up like towards his shoulders. The shoulders are like the rock, and then his neck is like the spouting, like the lava is like his neck, and then his head is just like there's smoke where his head should be, and there's just a face in the smoke.
Oh, okay. Like my brain was, so when you said that, my brain was picturing like chamber, where like there's just,
okay, no, it's a literal volcano.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah,
all right,
that's cool.
And
it's just a floating face in the smoke of the volcano coming out of the lava neck.
Whatever works.
Pretty awesome.
Oh yeah.
If you want some real gorgeous but wild Green Lantern stuff, I'm blanking on their name. Grant Morrison. Grant Morrison did a really wild and weird, crazy ass run with Hal Jordan, just in like deep, weird space.
Oh yeah.
A few years ago, and I read it digitally, and it was just like all the artwork. I wish I remembered the artist's name. The artwork was gorgeous, like just page after page, splash after splash of like super detailed, wild, crazy art. And really great.
Was that from that stretch of like Morrison heyday where everything he touched was like weird and good?
I mean, I don't know. It was pretty recent. It was pretty
really?
recent. It was like maybe just like 5 years ago. It was pretty recent. And I remember thinking it was good. Like But admittedly, I didn't know what was going on half the time. But it looked so pretty that it was really fun to read.
Liam
For sure.
Sharp was the artist.
Liam Sharp. Okay, yeah, I know that name. Yeah, it was very, very good.
Hmm.
Very
Well,
cool.
maybe I'll check some of that out.
Yeah. So my guess is the Lanterns TV show isn't going to throw us into all of the lore all at
Right.
once. Although we do know that Sinestro is going to be in it at some point in some capacity. And this photo didn't really give
when
us
we
much
talked about that, didn't they? No, they didn't really specify. They just said Sinestro. It wasn't like specified him as the bad guy.
No,
like
just that they had
'cause
cast
we had
a
that
Sinestro.
talk
Yeah,
about like maybe it's still him with the Green Lantern Corps before the turn
Right.
and all that. Okay.
right. Yeah,
Got it.
whether or not they're going to show his progression into being a villain or not, or he's already a villain. Yeah, who knows?
I love having to remember our own podcast on
Yeah.
our podcast.
It's really hard when you do one every week
Yeah.
for 3 years.
And then talk for an
it's
hour
like-
and a half about stuff.
Talk for
It's like, wait a minute. Did I say that? Did we not say that? Was that a conversation we had during the week?
I more or less remember that if we talked about something, like
Yeah.
I'm sure there's times that I forget we talked about something. Most of the time I feel like I can remember that we did talk about something, but I don't remember when
Or what we said.
what was said.
Yep. No
necessarily.
chance in
Like,
hell.
we covered this. But I feel like any long-running podcast is going to repeat themselves in some way,
Mhm.
and this is just it's our burden to bear. That's what you get with a weekly news podcast. We can only remember so much, folks, but we do appreciate you sticking it out.
It's what happens when we
When
speak
we're-
on the pompatus of comics.
Multiverse Report listeners, this is another throwback to the pre-roll that none of you heard. But if you can name a singer-songwriter that has invented a word or a turn of phrase other than Steve Miller and Chuck Berry, let us know. Invented a word, like made one up.
Yep. Completely.
Doesn't usually work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a completely nonsense word.
Yep. What's the Steve Miller one?
Pompatus.
Pompatus.
Yep.
Motivating is the Chuck Berry one. I was motivating over the hill. A word. Pompatus. Motivating. Pompatus motivating. Band name?
There
Next
you
band
go.
name?
Yeah, it might be like that's like a second album cover.
Yeah, it's like an album title.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's not a real band.
It's not your debut.
Anyway.
That's got to be like the follow-up.
Yeah. Moving on to another space-related story, space-related characters. We're talking about Star Wars. More specifically, we're talking about a woman named Kathleen Kennedy, who we recorded on Monday last week, right? I believe it was
I
Monday.
think so. Yeah.
And Tuesday, or late Monday night, I don't remember, news broke, an outlet called Puck News that I've read before. I don't know that it's the most reputable news source in the history of news sources. I'm just saying. Nothing against Puck News. I'm sure they do a bang-up job and their staff, is, working overtime. But it's not Deadline. It's not Variety. It's not whatever.
THR. Yeah.
THR, exactly. And Puck News ran a story that Kathleen Kennedy, head of Lucasfilm, producer extraordinaire, was retiring. And this was picked up by tons of outlets and run
Including the
as
aforementioned Variety and THR and Deadline and.
I don't know if Deadline did.
Okay.
Because Deadline had this interview with Kathleen Kennedy. I don't know that she would have sat down with them if they had run it. But every once in a while, because we do the podcast every week and we have friends that listen to the podcast, sometimes friends will send us stories. Sometimes we've already talked about them on the podcast. But this one, but this he's not. But this one, we hadn't heard, and so both Steve and I were like, "Oh, people report that all the time."
I was going to
there
say,
are tons of people on. Yeah, there are tons of people on the internet.
This has been rehashed like 75 different times.
Yes, there are tons of people on the internet that hate what Disney's been doing with Star Wars, and they blame Kathleen Kennedy for it fully,
including Richard in the chat, by the sounds of it.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, sorry, Richard. You're not going to like my opinion on that. And just like wanted to retire so bad, forgetting that she is one of the most successful and competent producers of all time. She has produced some of the greatest movies ever made in history, including like Jurassic Park, E.T.,
I was going to say,
E.T.
including almost a perfect movie in
E
E.T.
fucking T. Yeah. And like she's part of like the Back to the Future franchise. Like she has done it. She knows what she's doing. She's not stupid. She knows what she's doing. But for some reason, people just want to throw her under the bus all the time and blame her for whatever, not liking Rise of Skywalker or The Last Jedi or whatever Star Wars movie you didn't like. But you know what? I bet
she did AI. She
yeah,
did
she works with
the
Spielberg all the
2012,
time.
like the Daniel Day-Lewis Lincoln.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
so many Spielberg
there's
movies.
some bangers.
Yeah, absolute bangers. And I'm sorry if you blame her for not liking The Rise of Skywalker, but I bet you like Rogue One, and guess what? She produced that too. I bet you like first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, guess what? She produced that too.
Oh, and if
So
you thought your childhood was influenced by her just by E.T. and Raiders of the Lost Ark and all that, she was also an EP on The Land Before Time.
there you go. There you go.
I
That's what I'm
think
saying. She's been in
I
it.
may have watched that movie more than any movie in existence.
Right.
Like that was the 6-year-old me on repeat, just like VHS tape worn out.
Have you seen all like 12 sequels too?
No, because they didn't exist back then.
I know. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I probably aged out by the time the second one came out. But that first
you know what?
one,
Same.
that got
I watched that first one a million times
Yeah.
too. I saw it in the theater, I think, a couple times, like re-showings of it.
so great.
Anyway, if you are mad at Kathleen Kennedy for the stuff you don't like, you also have to give her credit for the stuff you do like. That's just the rules because she's been involved. Just says involved. But anyway, Steve and I were skeptical when we heard this story as being published by Puck News. And it turns out we were right because guess what? She's not retiring. That story ran Tuesday, and then Thursday, she sat down with Deadline and told everyone it wasn't true. They asked her if it was true, and she said, this is the beginning of the article, quote from Kathleen Kennedy, "The truth is, and I want to say it loud and clear, I am not retiring. I will never retire from movies. I will die making movies. That is the first thing that's important to say. I am not retiring. I will die making movies." What a quote.
You know,
What a badass quote that is. That's awesome.
like more power to her on that one. Like her or
Yeah.
not, like that's a strong.
That's a
she
awesome
came out
thing to
swinging
say.
right there.
Yep, that's right. She went on to say that there have been, for a while, ongoing conversations and talks with the higher ups at Disney regarding what a succession plan might look like for her stepping down from her current executive role at Lucasfilm. She has been in charge of Lucasfilm since George Lucas sold it to Disney. He named George Lucas. Everyone loves to love George Lucas when they started hating what Disney's doing with Star Wars.
Even though they hated Lucas before Disney.
Even though they hated
Star
him
Wars.
when the prequels were coming out.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Just reminding everybody of history. People seem to forget things. He chose Kathleen Kennedy. George Lucas, your king, chose Kathleen Kennedy.
Are you not entertained?
She's been doing it since then. And she is looking to, not stop producing films, but maybe not be doing it on an executive level and being in charge of all things Lucasfilm for the rest of her life. So she is talking about a succession plan and what that would look like and who might step in to take over the role at Lucasfilm. But her duties will continue, but merely as a producer. There's no set time frame for this happening. She said that it could be months to a year or years. She said there's so much going on. She doesn't really know when it's going to happen. It's going to be her decision when it does happen. She is producing Mandalorian and Grogu. She is producing the Sean Levy Star Wars film. And she has plans to do more with Lucasfilm and outside Lucasfilm after that. She also points out that the job has expanded quite a bit since she took it, including, streaming wasn't a thing when she took over in 2015 or 2012 or something like that. No one thought about that. So in general, seems to be requiring more hands on deck, more resources to handle it, which makes sense to me. So everybody settle down. She's not retiring.
Yeah. Well, and I think the only time we've talked about this in the past that was a strong enough discussion to warrant us talking about it was when they were talking about her. I think it was like possibly by the end of 26 or something, like taking a back seat and not necessarily going away, but like stepping away from that limelight, which is also, I mean, that's something she's alluding to here. That, by the end of this year or next year, that, maybe she steps back, but it's not like she's gone.
I remember hearing that at one point it seemed likely that this was before the strikes, last year's strikes, but like there was talk that she was going to get whatever the next Star Wars movie was going to be. I think at that point it was going to be the
Mando and
Charmin
Grogu.
Obeyed Chinoy
Yep.
one, or that looked like it was the front runner. I think it was before we even knew about Mandalorian
Right.
and Grogu. It looked like the Rey movie was going to be the next one, and that was going to come out in 2026, and then that would be her. Bam! I'm dropping it, and I'm out.
Right.
But things shake, and maybe that wasn't even true because she's saying right now that she's going to die making movies, so that probably wasn't true either, or not fully true anyway.
It was true from a certain point of view.
From a certain point of view, many things depend on our point of view. So anyway, while Deadline's talking to her, they're not going to ask her about what she's working on and Star Wars stuff.
Oh, absolutely. You get that interview, you're poking and prodding.
For sure. So we got some not huge updates, but I'm always down for good updates. Like last week, we got a bunch of like pretty good updates from James Gunn on where things are standing with the DC universe. This is kind of the same, but from Kathleen Kennedy over at Lucasfilm. So Deadline asked her about the Simon Kinberg Star Wars trilogy. Now, we reported this a few weeks ago. Again, I don't remember when we talked about it, but I remember talking about it. Simon Kinberg had been hired to write and produce a new Star Wars trilogy. He's writing a trilogy for Lucasfilm. We'll see if he actually writes all three or just scripts the first one and story outlines the next two. That's my guess, but we'll see. So they asked about the status of that trilogy and what's going on with it. And she said, "We're absolutely rolling fast and furiously. That has gone exceptionally well. And he's literally going to script as we speak," which means I guess they've just been developing and kicking around story ideas. And now he's finally actually putting pen to paper, so to speak. She continued, "We'll see something probably around June. Simon, if you remember, he did some work with us years ago with the animated show, Rebels, which was really wonderful and collaborative experience. And he got very, very busy with the X-Men and then recently became available again. And he's segued into this space beautifully. We're really excited about where that's headed." And then she continued to say, "This is the next iteration, the new saga that moves us into the future." So that to me sounds like Simon Kinberg is writing episode 10.
Which
she calls it a new saga.
In my brain is not where I want it to be, judging by the fact that the only movie that he's written that I actually liked was X-Men Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
Like literally, if you look at his writing credits are XXX State of the Union. I mean, come on, that's an A+.
I think we went over his writing credits when we talked about the announcement, but keep going.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the older one, not the Donald Glover one.
Yeah.
X-Men Last Stand, Jumper, which wasn't as bad as it was made out to be. The Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes. This Means War, which I have no idea what that is. Days of Future Past. 2015's Fantastic Four. Not great, Bob. X-Men Apocalypse, also not great. Dark Phoenix, which the hits just keep coming here.
He also directed Dark Phoenix.
Yes, he did. And then the 355, whatever the hell that is.
I don't know.
So that's it. That's his
I hate to break your heart, Steve. I hate to break your heart, but just this past summer, I revisited all the X-Men movies. Days of Future Past was fine, but it didn't necessarily hold up.
Oh no, I'm putting that in the pantheon. Like that was perspective based on what he had written.
Yeah,
like that was the only thing above a oh shit.
Yeah, but he's done a lot of. Hasn't he done a lot of television work, or am I wrong? Do you have his TV stuff up too?
Yes, Rebels.
Hooray!
The 2 episodes of the Twilight Zone reboot.
Okay.
And Invasion, whatever that was.
Okay, I guess not as much as I hoped.
Nope.
Well.
So now, if you just said he like his production work, sure.
Yeah.
That's much more
right.
It's not great, but it's still, he's got The Martian in there. He's got the Deadpool movies. He's got Logan. He's got First Class. Like, there's some other.
He's like an X-Men guy for sure. He got on the ground floor with the X-Men franchise. Yeah.
So there's definitely, like, if you add his production credits in there, there's some things that don't. And Legion. Like,
sure.
Okay, Give me Legion
Yeah.
all the time. But
like you can never really tell how involved just if you just get a producer credit, you can never really tell
exactly.
what that means.
Right. But that track record looks a lot better than his writing credits. Let's put it that way.
True. So mixed bag in general from Simon Kinberg. Seems like he's got the knowledge, but we'll see. I don't know, because he's not being asked to continue an existing franchise with things like the X-Men. Those movies were fine or bad. I mean, I guess he is continuing a franchise, but I guess we don't know. In
Not
the
in the
next
same
quote,
way. Well, although
the next quote, she seems to allude to these being new characters,
right.
in a quote that I'm about to read in a minute. So like maybe that'll have some kind of difference. He won't feel like beholden to
I don't know.
having to continue somebody else's vision necessarily. Hopefully,
We'll give it to him.
I don't know.
I'll give him the benefit of the
I
doubt
don't know.
until I'm proved otherwise.
Same.
Mostly
hey,
because I don't want to work myself up over these things. So
me either. But Steve, also, this is Lucasfilm we're talking about. He's probably going to get fired, and they're going to replace him with somebody else.
that's true. Like if we have more than like 3 months until this movie drops, he's probably not going to be there.
Yeah. She did say it's a quote that I should have written down. She did say something about how we always are developing things all the time, and because it's Star Wars, it's hard to keep those things a secret necessarily. And so there's all this like scrutiny around our development process, but of course we're going to develop stuff that we don't end up making. Like
Right.
that's just how movie studios work. Like you see how far you go, and then
Right.
doesn't get its budget, or it's not working out or whatever. And
right.
yeah,
one of the caliber of a Lucasfilm or
exactly,
the Disney monolith, like they're going to throw a bunch of it's monkeys throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah, you're talking one of the most popular franchises in the history of cinema.
Right. They're not going to go in with a single vision and just ram it forward.
Yeah, and like things are going to leak.
Yeah.
We're going to hear about Sean Levy making a Star Wars film before they announce it. We're going to hear about all this other stuff.
Yep.
So whatever. I mean, the flip side of that. Oh, sorry. I'll get to that in a second. I'm going to keep going here. She was asked about the Sean Levy film. Sean Levy, director of Deadpool and Wolverine and other things, asked about the status of that. She said, that's also in the future. It's all post 9. So this is the first time we've gotten confirmation on when this, I guess we didn't know the Simon Kinberg or the Sean Levy film was going to be taking place in the future necessarily. They just said that these people are working on movies. We didn't know the timeline.
Yeah,
so
I
both
think the
trilogy,
only thing we knew the timeline on was the Mangold film.
Right. Yeah. And the Rey movie, obviously.
Right. The fact that there's a movie in development that has Rey in it.
Right. Exactly. So she said that's also in the future. It's all post 9. Sean's is a standalone Star Wars story that'll take place post 9, meaning post episode 9, if you didn't figure that out. Maybe 5 or 6 years out. Now, does that mean the movie's 5 or 6 years out? Or does that mean the story is 5 or 6 years out from episode 9?
I don't know.
I'm not sure what she means by that. And Mandalorian really, I think she's talking in the Star Wars timeline, 5 or 6 years out from 9. She said, and because then she talks about Mandalorian's place in the timeline. She says Mandalorian really stands on its own because there we're dealing with a whole other era in the New Republic. And we have other development going on in that space as well. So that's the space that we're pretty much focused on right at the moment, because obviously with Mandalorian, we have a pretty good sense of where that's going. And with this, it's all pretty much new characters. We may bring in some of the characters back from the sequel saga, but pretty much new characters. So I think she's jumping back and forth within that sentence a little bit. I think she's saying she's focused on post 9 stuff because they kind of know what's happening in New Republic Mandalorian era. They got the Grogu movie, they've got season 2 of Ahsoka, like all that's kind of happening in that space. So and they're saying that for the Sean Levy film and maybe for the Simon Kinberg films, they're going to bring back sequel characters. I think that's smart of them if they're going to have any continuity whatsoever. I don't need it to be beholden to Skywalkers or anything like that. But, you give me a Chewie, you give me a droid, you give me a Poe Dameron or whatever. Hell yeah, I'm down. The Sean Levy film is also the one that is rumored to be starring Ryan Gosling, just for reminders as well. Crazy. Sure. It's still crazy that he's going to be in a Star. I love it.
Again, same thing with Lucasfilm. Like he'll be unattached within.
We'll see. Well, she also said in this article they've been working with Sean Levy already for a year and a half on
Oh,
working on this film. So
okay.
like he's been in. So they clearly like what he's got cooking.
Right.
But still, I'm pretty sure this is just in development
Well, I
and not
think
necessarily greenlit.
Levy with his work that hasn't been, Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I guess his work kind of intersects that same kind of demographic that they're looking for. Like that Real Steel was kind of that, in that not overly serious adult movie, but geared somewhat towards kids and like
Yeah.
kind of keeping it
Yeah.
light, but also making a
They're
solid
going,
movie.
I mean, speaking of Spielberg, I think they're going for like an Amblin kind of feel or a style. They want a PG-13 movie, PG-13 movie that you can bring an 8-year-old to with no problem.
Right. Like
You know
a
what I mean?
light PG-13. Yeah.
Exactly. Um,
A PG-10.
uh, Skeleton Crew.
Yeah,
Skeleton
exactly.
Crew. You know? Which, by the way, if John Watts isn't making a season 2 of Skeleton Crew, why aren't you giving him a Star Wars movie? Give him a movie.
Right.
Have him direct the Simon Kinberg one. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
keep him in house, Lucasfilm. That dude is crushing it, Star Wars wise.
Yeah,
Let's figure that
he
out.
definitely, for lack of a better term, he gets Star Wars, it seems.
Yeah, it really seems.
Although, I mean,
So,
apparently Tony Gilroy does too, but he has no care for Star Wars whatsoever. So
yeah, I didn't put it in the rundown, but she was also asked about, do you think it's possible that you can will Tony Gilroy be back
for
for
something,
a film,
yeah,
considering that he pretty much saved Rogue One and has been doing Andor? And she said, I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure Tony Gilroy never thought he would spend this much time in the Star Wars universe. And I think he's ready to move on to other things after he's done with it. So, no hope of a Tony Gilroy film, unfortunately. Although, man, I would love one. Yeah, he's such a
dude, give me Born in Star Wars.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
great. She was also asked about James Mangold, and she didn't say too much about it. She just said, "Yep, he's working on his script right now. Jim, he got delayed a bit because of the Dylan movie and award season. You have to accommodate top talent to a certain extent, and quality is so important with what we're trying to do. I like to wait for people that I think are passionate and really good to step in to Star Wars." So makes sense, but she claims that he is working on it. And Steve, I know you and I have talked recently on this podcast about how we still don't know. James Mangold has 2 high-profile projects on his plate, and he can't do Star Wars and Swamp Thing at the same time. What's he going to choose? What's going to come first? He was on Mark Maron's WTF podcast a week or 2 ago. I hadn't listened to it, but I just listened to it last week. He's talking mostly, if you are a Bob Dylan fan at all and like the Complete Unknown film, it's definitely a great interview to listen to because he talks about the development of that movie and getting to meet with Dylan and sitting down and his effect on the script and stuff. It was really cool interview. And right at the end, Mark Maron said, I got to ask you, like, I'm not a comic book guy, but I love Swamp Thing. Are you really doing Swamp Thing? And he said, I am working on a story for a Swamp Thing. Like, he didn't say like, yes, I'm directing it next. I was hoping that I'd get some like
get some gotcha type thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Either like, yep, that's my next thing, or I'm working on it, but I got to do Star Wars first. Like, I was hoping I'd get like a detail, He's like, I am working on a story for a Swamp Thing thing. Yes. And then they talked about why they like Swamp Thing for a little bit. So it was cool to hear him talk about it.
Why wouldn't you like Swamp Thing?
Why wouldn't you like Swamp Thing? He's the coolest. But anyway, no news there, but it's cool that I liked hearing him actually talk about one of these things definitively. Like, yes, I'm doing this. Especially Swamp. I feel like he's been asked about Star Wars more than I've heard him ask about Swamp Thing. So to hear him ask about Swamp Thing and be like, yeah, I'm still doing it. Cool. But we'll see. We'll see how long he holds on to either Swamp Thing or Star Wars. My guess is that he's not going to do both. My guess is that he's going to have to pick one, and he'll get a producer credit on the other one.
Yeah, or he'll do one and the other will get like pushed.
Yeah,
because I mean, we've seen it. Like, how many things are coming down the Lucasfilm pipe? Like, there's plenty of space for Levy's movie to get pushed out beyond a season of Swamp Thing or 2 seasons of Swamp Thing.
It's true. But also, Yeah, I don't know.
And
I don't
then
know,
now,
but
if he
like
produces a Swamp Thing, is it tied into the DCU, or is it something that is going to stand alone like the Batman, or
I don't know. That's I don't know.
can it just be a one shot like the Man Thing appearance in Werewolf by Night?
I don't want it to
Or
be though. I would love a
I
Swamp
know
Thing franchise.
I would love
That'd
a
be
man. I would
incredible.
love them to go back to Man Thing.
Fucking me too, man.
That
I would love
looks
Marvel to do
so
so much stuff that
like
they're not doing.
nobody expected Man Thing at the end of that 1 hour
That's
of
great.
television, and we're like, this is. Can I get more of that?
That is just hands down the best thing that Marvel has done
It
in
really is.
years. Years,
100%.
man. Like it's Guardians 3
Right.
and like the Guardians holiday special are like
Right.
the
I was going to say
three
both of the
best
special things
things.
they've done have been
Yes,
absolute bangers.
bangers. I do think I'm gonna go see. I think I'm gonna take time out of my day on my birthday this coming week and going to see Captain America 4 during the day.
Hmm.
Nice morning
Nice.
show, Brave New World, so I can finally comment on that. Anyway, I was trying to think when I was hemming and hawing and humming there. I was trying to figure out which I would want him to choose to do next. James Mangold. Do I more want him to do Dawn of the Jedi, or do I more want him to do a Swamp Thing movie? And I really don't know. Like, I just have to let the universe tell me because
Right.
I really want a James Mangold Swamp Thing movie. I really want a James Mangold Star Wars movie. I don't know. I don't know which one. I'm sure. I'm assuming you're leaning towards the Star Wars.
Yeah, just by
If you had to pick one.
general nature. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see. And my guess is that we'll see probably soon after the Oscars, which is happening Sunday night. My guess is that we'll get some kind of confirmation on his next. I don't think he's going to win Best Director, but for Complete Unknown. But I think that once that hype for that movie is subsided, he'll be able to make an announcement of where he's going next. But Kathleen Kennedy also says you have to cater to top talent, or whatever that quote that I just read. You have to accommodate top talent to a certain extent. And as you and I talked about recently, James Mangold's probably the most prestige director that either of these franchises have their hands on right now. And both DC and Lucasfilm probably want to keep him at all costs. So we'll see.
As far as modern prestige directors, how many more are there above him?
I know. I really think it's just going to come down to what he wants to do next, because I'm pretty sure both DC and Lucasfilm will bend over backwards to keep James Mangold. It would be his next project coming off an Oscar nomination.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whether he wins or not. He just got nominated for his last film, and he's been nominated a few times before. Like, he's an Oscar nominated director. They both want him, but it'll be just, do you feel like spending 3 years of your life in Star Wars, or do you want to spend 3 years of your life in the swamp? It's up to you, man. We'll see.
Well, and
We
with
will
it being a
see.
TV series, who the hell knows?
It's not a TV series, it's a film.
Oh, I thought it was was it originally they were talking about a
They
series?
did a great TV series, Swamp Thing, in 2019, and they canceled it after one season. They canceled it during the season because it was like too expensive. It was some dumb thing. It was so good. It was so good. And I don't even think you can find it anywhere. I don't think it's streaming. I think you can buy it on iTunes, but it's not on like Max or anything, which is dumb.
So weird.
Like, come on, put it on there. What are you doing with it? Just sitting on it. Idiots.
Seriously.
Anyway, my last point. This is a really good. If you're into any of this that we're talking about, you should read the Deadline article. It's a really good interview. She does talk about Lucasfilm as a company and Star Wars and stuff. If you care about the industry or Lucasfilm, or you want to hear her talk about more stuff like that, it's a really good interview. But she said the interviewer the interview asked about Simon Kinberg, interview asked about James Mangold, interview asked about Sean Levy, and the interviewer then kind of made a joke and said, "Are there any others that I've forgotten?" And she said, "Well, I keep waiting for Taika Waititi, and he's working with another writer now. He's so busy. I love him. I think if we ever do get a script from Taika, it's going to be fantastic. I already saw a first act that I loved, but trying to nail him down, it's tricky. But tying him down, it's tricky." So she's still floating the Taika Waititi thing, which I thought was long dead.
Want it.
It's been years. Yeah, you're completely off of it at this point. I'm like if he wants to, sure, fine. But I'm not hungry. I used to when they announced it, I was like out of my mind, excited about it. And now I'm like, fine, I'm kind of like she is like, it sounds good, but if he wants to make it, great. If he doesn't, fine. Who cares? Who cares? But Steve, I included this last part not to make you remember how much you don't want Taika Waititi in Star Wars, I included this last question because the interview says, any others I've forgotten? And she brings up the Taika Waititi thing. They talked about the Sean Levy. They talked about Simon Kinberg. They talked about James Mangold. Talked about Taika Waititi. What didn't they talk about?
The Charmin Obaid-Chinoy one?
Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, New Jedi Order, Rey movie. She didn't bring that up. Are there any others I've forgotten? She brings up one. She brings up Taika Waititi, which is not even close to happening.
Right.
Why didn't she bring up the Charmin Obaid-Chinoy film?
She didn't mention Mandalorian and Grogu either, though, to be fair.
It's true. And she didn't mention the Dave Filoni movie that they've announced.
Yeah, so I guess there's
2 years ago at Celebration, they announced 3 movies. She talks about one of them in this.
Right. Yeah.
Do we think, is this a bad sign for the Charmin Obaid-Chinoy Rey film that we've gotten zero information on in the last year and a half?
Well, especially if they're talking about the Kinberg stuff as the saga.
Right?
Yeah, maybe.
How do you not continue with Rey, though? You know what I mean? How do you not?
I don't know. None of it makes sense.
I don't know. I'm not saying that movie's dead, but I mean, they did just hire another writer. We talked about that within the last 2 months. They hired another writer for that movie. So they wouldn't have hired another writer if they didn't think there was something there. But like we talked about, they develop a lot of stuff that may not. Oh, that's what I was going to say. We were saying when we were talking about they develop a lot of stuff that may not get made. Yeah, I get that. That's how movies are made. That's how Hollywood works. But then you shouldn't get on a stage at Celebration and bring out Daisy Ridley and tell everyone in the world that you're making a movie. Make it.
Yeah.
Maybe don't make that announcement. Maybe James Gunn it. You don't make the announcement until it's happening. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, but what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? I mean, I just wanted a Rey movie. I was very excited about that. And if it doesn't happen, I'm just going to be bummed. And I'll get over it. Sure, I'll get over it. But it's just a bummer. Any other thoughts, feelings about...
Get over it, Mike.
Exactly. I shouldn't have to, because they're the ones that told me they were making it. And they were so confident in it, they brought out the lead actor on stage. Anyway.
He's the one who sucks. He should change his name.
Exactly. Why should I change his name? He's the one who sucks. Office Space reference. Anyway, any other thoughts and feelings on Kathleen Kennedy and the things that she had to say about the current slate of Star Wars films, Steven?
No. Until we get more concrete details on any of these, it's all speculation, but...
Yep.
It's fun speculating.
We'll see. It is fun speculating. And especially when the fuel for that speculation comes from the mouth of the head of Lucasfilm. So it's more concrete stuff from which to speculate. Speaking of concrete stuff, this movie sank like a stone concrete block at the box office. But we're all excited to watch it on Netflix.
So
aren't we?
Just prior to saying anything, I forgot this got released. Until I looked at the rundown and saw this, I completely forgot that Kraven the Hunter was released anywhere, let alone on streaming.
Sure was. It's coming to Netflix this month. March 13th, everyone's favorite movie, Kraven the Hunter, will be on Netflix. Why am I even bothering to put this on the rundown? We don't talk about streaming release dates normally. I just put this on because I feel like the majority of people listening to this podcast didn't go see it in the theater.
I was going to say.
But are probably like, I'll watch 10 minutes of it when it's on Netflix. Well, guess what? March 13th. Now you can.
So this is the Multiverse Report question of the week. Second question of the week.
First one is songwriters that invent words.
The second is, will Steve make it past his Madam Web mark?
Yeah, so I watched all of Madam Web.
If
I don't know.
Make it to the 24th minute of this movie, we'll make it past my Madam Web mark.
See, Madam Web was such it was so confoundingly bad
Right.
that I couldn't stop watching it. I'm just like, how were these decisions made? I can't believe this. How? How? So if it's like that, then I'll probably end up watching the whole thing. But if it's
No,
like
no,
just
Brian, that
bad in
is
a
not a
way
dig
that's
at you.
sad. Oh,
Because he did go see it in theater.
he wants. Oh, he wants to see Craven.
Yeah.
Wow, so dedicated. Did you like it, Brian? Tell us what you thought. What'd you think? Um, but like if it's fun bad, like funny, if it's like, Mystery Science Theater level bad and you can laugh at it, great. If it's confoundingly, I've never seen something like this, I can't understand the decisions that were made that came to this bad, I'll probably stick with it. If it's bad in a way that's just like, ugh, this is stupid and
See,
depressing
I
and
feel like
making
if
me angry, then I
Madam
won't finish it.
right, Madam Web, if I'd have gotten past that 30-minute mark, I
You'd
think I
hung on,
probably
yeah.
would have stuck with it and like had to see it to the end.
Yeah.
The official word from Brian is it's better than Madam Web, but it's awful.
Okay.
Which is about what I was expecting. So I'm glad I'm on the same page with Brian. It's always good to be on the same page with Brian.
I agree. Another minor Marvel story, just a reminder for those of you that may be excited, not about Kraven the Hunter, but about Daredevil. We are days away from the premiere of Daredevil Born Again. 2 episodes dropping this Tuesday, March 4th. Happy birthday to me. 2 episodes
that's
of
your birthday
Daredevil.
present right there.
Bang, bang, boom. Daredevil in my brain. Now, Steve, I just kind of want to reflect on this for a second. How long we've been waiting for more Daredevil? Because, like, they
Are you
canceled
counting
it.
Defenders or no?
Well, there was a season 3 of Daredevil after Defenders.
Oh, it was after Defenders.
Yeah. And they didn't announce that they were canceling it until after season 3, I think, was over. They did announce that all the shows were canceled before. I think Punisher season 2 and Jessica Jones season 3 were the 2 seasons that came out after we knew that they weren't coming back. But now they're coming back. There's a rumor that Kristen Ritter was seen in New York City this week filming Daredevil Born Again season 2. So it's possible that she will be returning. Those are rumors that are flying around right now. But we're not talking about season 2. We're talking about, when did season 3 air? Are you looking it up?
2018.
2018. So 2018. Now it's 2025.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about. Season 1, 2015. Season 2, 2016. Season 3, 2018. Like, crazy. They pounded through those.
Yes, because that's how you used to make television. Now you get one season of a show you love and you gotta wait 5 years for season 2. It's insane. But yeah, here we are. It's finally happening. Do you remember how upset you were when they said they were canceling Daredevil?
Yeah.
I was like, why? It's so good. It's like, oh, well, they're doing a streaming service and they want to bring all their characters back. I don't care.
Right.
Just make another one of those. What the hell, man? That was like between the Fox acquisition and all that stuff happened after that. Like, just, it's been so long. It's been so long. And I know that they can only make so much stuff, but it's really crazy that they didn't just immediately start pumping out more Daredevils. Yes, I know. Okay, team, we're not canceling you. We're pausing production while we buy Fox or whatever, but you should make another thing. Keep doing your thing. And next time it'll be on Disney. Seems like there was a smoother way to do all that, but I guess contractually they maybe had to cancel it for Netflix before. But it's finally happening. It's here, man. It's here.
We're doing it.
And I hope that when I see the first episode, it immediately takes me back to my love for this season, the first 3 seasons. Because I really did like all 3 seasons of that show. And, had its ups and downs a little bit. Season 2 dragged a little bit in the middle. Season 3, I think, maybe dragged a little bit in the middle too. But, like, it was good stuff. Good stuff all the way through.
Right. Season 1 is like, if you need to show someone how to make a season of television, give them Daredevil season 1.
Yeah, that's a great season of television. A lot of great season 1s in that series. Jessica Jones season 1 is also, I believe, a perfect season of television. I think season 1 of The Punisher is excellent.
Yes, it was. Jessica Jones season 1.
Yeah.
Has there been a better Marvel villain than Kilgrave in that?
I think for my money, the two best now you can officially say it now. The two best villains from the Marvel Cinematic Universe are David Tennant as Kilgrave in Jessica Jones, and uh fucking I'm forgetting his name. I'm blanking on his name.
Vincent
But
D'Onofrio?
Vincent D'Onofrio as Fisk in Daredevil. Yeah, easily. And then, I mean, up there, the only other one that I would put on the same level as them is what's his face from Black Panther, Michael B. Jordan,
Oh, Killmonger.
Killmonger,
Yeah.
Killmonger. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, those three are definitely
those
a
are the
tier
three.
above.
And like Loki's, sure, he's great, but he's not a villain all the time.
Right.
He's not as villainous.
Your
He's not as scary. I'm not.
anti-hero-y-
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's literally the definition of anti-hero.
Exactly. These guys
Not-
are villains.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm hoping that the time that I've spent away from Daredevil, and I've gone back and I've watched a few episodes of I tried to rewatch the first season of Daredevil, and I loved it, but I'm just not it's hard for me to rewatch a season of anything. So I dropped
100%.
off. I dropped off a little halfway through. Didn't finish it. So not that I didn't like it, but I'm hoping that I haven't spent so much time away from the show that I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. But that, I guess, to me, just shows that this new season has a really high bar to clear for me. And again, my expectations have been lowered. And I'm reminding all of you listening, lower those expectations.
Right.
Because it's going to be Disneyfied. It's not going to be the Netflix version. But we also read reports of like it's more violent than the Netflix version, and it goes twice as hard. But like,
whatever. Like,
who knows?
But at the same time, if you give me the Fisk we saw in Echo compared with the Fisk we saw in
Hawkeye, yeah,
I'll be happy.
Yeah,
and we're not. I don't think we're going to ever get a Netflix Fisk version of like a true Netflix Fisk. We're not going to see something like Vera Morris in the chat. Kilgrave was excellent, 100%. Like we're not going to get anything that touches that.
Yeah,
but yeah, I would say just like we've started to do with everything Marvel, set the expectations low. You'll only be surprised and happy.
Yeah.
Your worst case is like, it was fine. I'm not going to watch it again.
My biggest hope is that this series doesn't feel like it's trying too hard. You know what I mean? Like, whoa.
Kind of like me trying to drink out of my cup.
Yeah, what just happened?
I don't know. Having trouble with straws?
Okay. You looked surprised about what you were drinking for a second.
This is my wonderful Yeti that I bought for my wife that she didn't want to use, so I just slapped a sticker on it, and now it's mine.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, why not?
Anyway, I just don't want this show to feel like it's trying too hard to be the Netflix show. Like, I either want it to just effortlessly be the Netflix show, which I doubt, or capture some of the vibes, but ultimately be its own thing. That's kind of what I'm expecting.
Yeah.
But if it reeks of trying to be gritty for gritty's sake and violent for violence sake, then I feel like it's going to play phony. I don't want it to come off as like phony. I guess that's that would be the worst case scenario for me. But we'll see.
I mean, there's always a worst case scenario, but we're not going to go there. That it's actively bad.
Actually, really bad. Yeah.
Which we've seen from Marvel because Secret Invasion existed,
and Iron Fist existed too. But also,
I feel like Iron Fist was better than Secret Invasion.
Ooh!
Now that I say that,
whoa!
Now that I say those words out loud, I'm like,
no.
I don't know.
What an interesting thing to think about. Which is better, Iron Fist or Secret Invasion?
Which is less bad? Wow. Yeah.
Now, I have to remind you that maybe a year ago, on this very podcast, we determined the 2 truths of nerddom. Do you remember the 2 truths of nerddom? People argue about everything all the time. There was 2.
Yeah.
1, everyone loves The Empire Strikes Back.
Yep.
2, everyone hates Iron Fist. Those are the two truths of nerddom,
Fair.
I think, that we discovered. But what I'm about to say, no, it doesn't fly in the face of that, because Iron Fist is very bad. It's a bad show.
Yeah.
I think Secret Invasion is worse than Iron Fist.
I think it might be. At least
I think
Iron Fist at least
personally
had some redemption with the Defenders, which was also not great, but it was better than Iron Fist.
He was also in one episode of Luke Cage season 2, which I thought was great. I was like, this is
what we needed from Danny Rand.
This is what we needed.
This was not the hot garbage Danny Rand that we got in the first. Right. Yeah.
And also Colleen Wing rules. Colleen Wing ruled in Iron Fist. And I can't look at anything in Secret Invasion and be like, I love that character.
Right.
You know? No character in Secret Invasion like really popped like that for me in a way that Colleen Wing was like, oh, this show should be about her.
Brian brings up something in the chat. So we're doing the pick your poison thing.
Yeah.
Secret Invasion or Madam Web? I actively turned both of them off at points, so I'm like flipping a coin here. Brian, I think you broke Mike.
A moment ago, when talking about Kraven the Hunter versus Madam Web, I said that Madam Web was so confoundingly bad that I couldn't stop watching it. Whereas Secret Invasion, I just made me sad.
Actively angry, yeah.
I would rather rewatch Madam Web than watch Secret Invasion again.
Yeah.
That's a crazy sentence. That's a crazy sentence for me to say.
And especially when you look at that cast of Secret Invasion.
And they spent like $300 million. They spent so much money on that show. And it looked like shit, and it was terrible.
It was 100% hot trash.
It was so bad. And because it was trying too hard. It's like I just said about Daredevil. Like, it was trying to be some like slick spy thriller, and it was just like bogged down with bullshit. It just didn't make any sense.
Well, now that we're done talking about shit.
Anyway, Daredevil. Daredevil's on Tuesday. Hopefully it's not bad. Watch it. Right. Let us know. We'll talk about it next week. I'm sure we'll talk about it next time.
So wait, is our closing argument on that? Daredevil, at least it can't be Iron Fist.
Hey, never say never. You never know. I'm hoping that it's not Iron Fist. Again, set those expectations lower.
Yep.
So real quick before comic review, I do want to do an extension of our Kickstarter call out from last week. So we did say we were going to do a more in-depth one this week, and it was slight more in-depth one, but I'm going to do a full review of the actual book, hopefully by next week. Amor, Patris, we talked about it last week. The campaign is live on Kickstarter right now. It's from creator Aaron Robolewski. And I've been talking to him a little bit on Blue Sky about promoting the comic book, and he's the one sending me the advanced copy. So I'm very excited to read it and let everybody know about it. If you remember from last week, this is a terrifying looking book. It's a horror comic. They shout out things like, if you like The Exorcism of Emily Rose, The Conjuring, Sinister, like that kind of creepy ass movie, you might dig this. The artwork is black and white and looks incredibly scary. First issue of Amor, Patris, thrusts the reader into a narrative of blood, death, and the terrifying unknown. Sheriff Rees arrives at the Anderson farm at what he first believes to be a routine disturbance, but something far more sinister lurks in the shadows. And this is for issues 1 and 2 of this book, and there's a ton of... The campaign is live. You can go to Kickstarter and look for Amor, Patris.
Link in the show notes.
Link will be in the show notes, and you can check it out. There's a ton of there's variant covers and a bunch of cool packages. And one of my favorite things, there is a Be Drawn Into the Book tier. One of the
you did that
highest
on the
reward tiers. My Amazing Shakes. Yep. Got some. I had 8 or 9 cameos in my Amazing Shakes book.
Oh God, the Amor Patris variants make it even worse for me. So I'm like, what's going to happen to that kid?
I know.
We're like, why is there a nun? Like,
nothing
good. What the hell's going on?
Nothing good.
This cannot be good.
Well, I think the nun is just there because one of the variant covers tribute to the poster for The Nun, the movie The Nun. I don't know. Well, maybe there's an actual nun in it.
Oh, hey,
I don't
know.
know. I'm not sure what
you're
you're
right.
looking at.
That the kids one is literally the poster to The Nun.
Poster for The Nun.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like a reference. that Conjuring world. Anyway, Steve, I don't have a comic to review, but I can because I'm not done reading the thing I'm reading right now. I gotta tell you, I was at a bookstore the other day and I saw and I grabbed a copy of a book from Image that I don't know if you've heard of. It's by a woman named Zoe Thorogood, writer and artist. And it's a book called It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth. You ever heard of that book?
I've heard of it. I have not read it.
I have heard nothing but great things about Zoe Thorogood and her work. She did a book called The Impending Blindness of Billy Scott, which really blew up for Image. And this was her follow up to that. Steve, you know how sometimes you read a comic book and you're like, wow, I didn't know comics could do this,
Yeah.
even though you've been reading comics your entire life.
Yep.
And you think at some point you're like, I know what comics can do.
This is
But
fine.
then you read a
I've
book
got
and you're
this
like,
idea. Yeah.
But then you're like, oh, this is shattering what I thought comics could do. That book is doing this for me. I'm just being that kind of knocked out of how good this book is. So it is certainly living up to the hype that I read about it. It came out a couple years ago, but I just never picked it up. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I'm buying this. I need to read this. I heard it was great, and it is great. It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth by Zoe Thorogood. Pick it up or borrow it from me when I'm done.
There you go.
That's my shout out. Steve.
That's mostly for me or local to Syracuse people. I don't think
you're
going to start shipping that comic all over the world.
If you're like in California listening to this, I'm not going to send you my copy of Lonely at the Center of the Earth. You could probably get one way easier at your
Fair enough.
Store. Yeah.
So
Steve
Thorogood also did Creepshow Volume 2, which is out or was out in 23. There's
cool.
There's a Creepshow that just dropped. It might be a new mini that they're doing. And she was in did Harley Quinn Black, White, and Redder. She had one of the stories in that. So
you know what? I think I remember that because I reviewed a couple of those books.
And also For James and Ice Cream Man, because people like Ice Cream Man. I've read 2 issues and I still don't get it, but
it's not for you.
No,
it's not for everybody.
There's a lot of comics out there, and not all of them are for everybody.
No, that's very true. That's very true.
So, Richard's in California, so.
Oh, what's up, Richard?
Sorry, Richard, you're not reading Mike's copy.
You're not getting my book.
If you were in Syracuse, New York, you might be able to.
Yeah, come to visit sometime. We'll have you on the show.
There you go.
if you want to be on the show, you have to come to us. You have to travel to one of our houses. Yeah,
we recorded over Discord.
yeah.
That's great.
That's just the rule. That's just the rule. We only do in-person guests.
In-person guests, not in person.
Right. Yeah, you have to come to Syracuse, but then be in a third location.
Room, yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll Discord you. Yeah. Sorry, that's just how it works.
Maybe that third location is Funky Town Comics and Vinyl, which is
where
I got the copy of Red Hulk #1 that I talked about earlier with the aforementioned Frank Miller cover that we are now done discussing because I don't want to look at that anymore. So I will open the inside of said issue.
I gotta say, the Hulk cover looks better than his Wolverine cover.
Yes, and the worst one was what was it? It was whatever they called the Wolverine and Ghost Rider.
Helverine.
No, it was the Weapons of Vengeance or whatever. It was the precursor to the Wolverine thing.
Okay.
That was the one that was the first one that was just like, oh God, what happened to Frank Miller? Mm-hmm. And then he did the Wolverine one, and then he did the was it a Wolverine? There was a couple other ones that he did.
There was a couple Wolverines, yeah.
Yeah. All in all, not great. Red Hulk 1, Ben Percy on writing, Jeff Shaw on art, Brian Valenza on colors, and Corey Petit on letterer. Overall, it is tied into the One World Under Doom storyline.
Okay.
Thaddeus Ross is captured by Doom. So he is in prison in Latveria. He is currently locked up and finds himself locked up with Deathlock, Simon Riker, Hugo Perez, head of the Hook Cartel. Who else we got? We have a professor from Harvard and Machine Man.
Okay.
And they're trying to prison break Doom with all of the Doom bots serving them food, and basically they have a collar on Ross to restrict the Hulk.
Power dampening. Yeah.
Yep. And the end of the issue is you know, it's the standard setup first issue where the end of the issue is, hey, look, Hulk shows up.
Of course.
Like they find a way to get from A to B so that, you know, you can have a story, because otherwise it's an issue 1 that just does nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's have a Red Hulk book that there's no Red Hulk in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, overall, I don't know. Ben Percy's a very love him or hate him type writer.
Okay.
I've come to love hate him on some Wolverine stuff. It was fine as a setup. It didn't grab me amazingly, but you know, especially with the Red Hulk wave, they had to put something out. I can say One World Under Doom. I read that as well. That was the number 1 that dropped last week. Very solid setup for an interesting proposal that I'm sure there's way too many tie-ins that I'm not going to pick up.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think all of these are probably a solid trade pickup. Like once
it makes sense.
Once you get them in a collected form, that they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
So One World Under Doom is basically Doom is the Sorcerer Supreme now, like stole the mantle from Strange. He's the Sorcerer Supreme. He went into hiding in Latveria and is kind of now taking over the entire world and trying to portray this benevolent dictator thing. Our heroes are saying there's no way, it's Doom, blah, blah, blah. And in the first issue, there's conflict over, you know, whether Doom is being Doom or Doom is actually trying to be good or whatever. Written by Ryan North, art by R.B. Silva. So solid team on it. And yeah, I don't know. It's going to be, I mean, we'll be seeing this unravel over the course of half the year. So
Sure. And it feels like a clear way of, hey, let's get Dr. Doom back into the minds of all Marvel readers and all comic readers, so that when he shows up in a movie next year,
100%
excited. Yeah. I feel like we're going to see Dr. Doom
everywhere.
On the forefront of Marvel comics everywhere for the next few years, is my guess.
As long as Victor Von Doom does not start to look like Robert Downey Jr. in the comics.
Hey, who knows? Who knows?
Oh, I know. And I know it will happen, and I'm going to hate it.
Yeah, I'll hate it too. I'm less invested than you, but I'll hate it as well. I'll hate it just as much. This week in your local comic book store, you may find, Steve, get excited for Batgirl number 5. And also Batman.
I caught up on that. That's still solid. Like
banging book.
I really am liking Cassandra Cain.
She's great.
Yeah.
She's a lot of people's favorite member of the Bat family. She's excellent. Batman Full Moon, number 4. Birds of Prey, speaking of Cassandra Cain. Birds of Prey, number 19. Darkwing Duck, number 1. New number 1 for Darkwing Duck. Doctor Strange of Asgard, number 1. EC Cruel Kingdom, number 3. Flash Gordon, number 6. Herculoids, number 1. Huge Detective, number 4. Hyde Street, number 4. Immortal Thor, number 21. Justice Society of America, number 5. Justice League, The Atom Project, number 3. Moon Knight, Fists of Khonshu, number 6. Mothra, Queen of the Monsters, number 1. Nice House by the Sea, number 6. NYX, number 9. Poison Ivy, number 31. Pop Kill, number 1. Powerpuff Girls, number 8. Scarlet Witch, 10. Secret 6, number 1. Shazam, 21. Space Ghost, 10. Spider-Boy, still going with Spider-Boy, number 17. Spider-Gwen,
Somebody
Ghost Spider, number 11. Someone's buying Spider-Boy. Star Wars Jedi Knights, number 1. Storm, number 6. Spectacular Spider-Men, number 13. Thundercats, 13. Two-Face, number 4. Ultimates, number 10. Uncanny X-Men, 11. And Wolverine, number 7. This is my pull week. Still getting Birds of Prey and still getting Poison Ivy. And I still have to pick up my Black Canary from last week because I haven't been able to get in there. And like I said, that Black Canary book is really good so far. I think this will be the 3rd issue that I pick up this week and read, but it's been really good. The fight,
I was going to say, what was the subtitle on that?
Best of the Best.
That's it, yeah.
And it centers around her being in a boxing match or like UFC kind of match with Lady Shiva and cutting back to her training for that match and like parts of her childhood and stuff. It's really good. Tom King crushing it. It's really good.
Shiva heavily featured in the ongoing Batgirl. Which through 4 issues is basically Cassandra having a crisis of faith between Lady Shiva and the Bat Family, and
Oh, that's cool.
she's seeing a different side of Lady Shiva than she is used to. Like, i.e., she's not trying to kill anyone or her.
Right. Yeah. Cool.
So it's an interesting like internal take on it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a cool.
I don't know a ton of history on it, but it seems like it's a solid story.
Yeah, it sounds like a cool way to explore that character, for sure.
Yeah, I only have 2 things on my pull on this.
What's that?
Ultimates and
Batgirl.
Batgirl.
And Ultimates, that's right.
Although Darkwing Duck, I may pull for the boyo because let's get dangerous.
Yeah, I forgot that was his catchphrase. Let's get dangerous. Darkwing Duck.
When there's trouble, you call DW, my friend.
That's right.
Again, those 90s cartoon theme songs. Has there ever been a more catchy era of like TV theme songs than that? Like Rescue Rangers through, I don't know, like somewhere in that
X-Men
90s. Yeah.
Like the era of
morning cartoons, like Tailspin and
yeah. We're unfortunately out of the era of catchy theme songs in general. Like sometimes for like a prestige drama, you get like a moody one, you know, or like Game of Thrones has like a good
right.
Had a good one, but you know, most it just takes up so much time. Like if you're an hour drama, you got like if you're like at a prestige drama, you're on Showtime or HBO, and you can be like, yeah, your episodes can be as long as they need to be. They can be an hour.
Yep.
And you're like, yeah, sure, let's have a theme song. But when you're a half-hour show that really ends up only being 22 minutes with, you know, if you're on cable with 20 minutes show with commercials or whatever, then you do not have time for a theme song anymore.
Oh, 100%.
Like, so I agree with what you're saying. It's a shame that we don't get cool, catchy, like little jingles for characters anymore for our kids' theme songs. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
We're gonna sit on, like, I think I was on YouTube a couple weeks ago and just like played some playlist they had of like 190s theme songs or whatever and just let it go. Yeah. And it was hilarious to watch my 7-year-old like, oh, that's good. Oh, that's cool.
Right.
Yeah. Like, you have no idea what this is associated with, but the song caught you. And it's like, all right, that was good songwriting.
I think it was like maybe a year or so ago, my son and I were watching the Pee-wee's Playhouse episodes. Theme song for Pee-wee's Playhouse is like 2 minutes long. It's like a long theme song. Yeah. It's just like, there's like 3 verses. Yeah. It just like keeps going. Which is wild. Like no one would do that. You're not going to give away 2 minutes of storytelling for, you know, a catchy song anymore. That just doesn't happen. Crazy.
Sorry, I pulled up some thing and it's like that bass line in Seinfeld, like the Seinfeld theme.
Yeah.
Like, where are you going to find a random slap bass theme?
Pretty cool.
Floating around.
That was also genius because that was just kind of like, that's kind of where it started, I think. Because that was like, it was never, it wasn't like slap bass over like starring Jerry Seinfeld and, you know, whatever as George, you know.
It wasn't the like Full House and.
Yeah. It was just like.
Saved by the Bell era of.
Yeah. Logo. Boom, ba-doom, boom, boom, ba-doom, boom, ba-doom, boom. Oh, that's it. Yeah.
X-Files. That creepy ass.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Set the tone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Great.
Turtles, I still sing to my son every day.
Yeah. Even like
before I go, like that's part of his bedtime routine.
Really?
Finishes with singing the 1987 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theme song.
That's hilarious.
I have no idea why, but he like latched onto it. And it's like, all right, whatever works.
Wow.
Like,
whatever.
That's what you want to do.
Gets you to sleep.
Fine.
Donatello does machines.
Yep.
Batman the Animated Series. It's like a little, it's like a little mini episode. It's the same episode, but you know, there's 2 crooks on the top of the building and bank explodes. Yeah, it's super cool.
And like you said before, the X-Men, like when they announced X-Men 97, it was just like, I guarantee everybody that saw the announcement was like, they better not mess up the theme song.
You better not skimp on that theme song. And they knew. They knew. We know what you want. We know what you're here for. Your theme song. Don't worry. We're changing it a little bit, but
yeah, but it'll be enough to.
That's great.
Enough that you know.
But it'll hit the spot. It'll hit the spot.
Oh yeah.
Well, my friend, I think that's all I got. What about you? Got anything else?
No, I think I'm good on all accounts here. I think if you are still with us, if you could please like, subscribe on Well, actually, no. We are now up to 99 subscribers. So whoever subscribed during this show,
We got one.
thank you.
We got one.
One more on the road to 100. Feel free
Let us know what we should do.
Yeah.
Should we even sell? Is this one? Two questions. We're asking a lot of our audience. A lot of questions of our audience.
Third question of the day.
Third question of the day. I forgot what the second one was. First one, songwriters that make up words that aren't Steve Miller and Chuck Berry. Second one,
Secret Invasion or Iron Fist? What the hell is happening?
What is happening? What was that?
Anyone on YouTube, do you have any idea what
that
happened on my
happened?
screen?
Why did I get balloons?
I don't know.
Did I say congratulations or something? What happened?
I have no idea.
So weird.
It was just your screen.
Exactly.
Huh.
I was like, am I hallucinating? Like, I was like, is there a balloon in front of me? What's happening? It was so weird. Okay. What's the second one? Oh yeah, what's worse? Iron Fist or Secret Invasion?
Yep.
And third, I forgot what we were talking about. Oh, third, should we bother celebrating having 100 subscribers? And if so, what should we do? That's a two-part question.
First answer to that is giveaway from Richard Westfall. So
a giveaway. Right.
We could send a complimentary copy of the Amazing Shakes to whoever.
That's true. I can send you my comic book if you don't have one already. Absolutely.
I still have no idea.
Send you my copy of.
What's that?
Send you a copy of It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth, even though I told you 10 minutes ago that I wasn't going to do
there
that.
You go.
I'll autograph it. It'll make no sense. Just here's a copy of a book someone else wrote. Signed by me.
Leave your book completely unsigned.
Yeah, exactly.
Put them both.
I'll have Zoe Thorogood sign my book, and I'll sign her book. Yeah.
It only makes sense when they're portrayed side by side in a panel.
Yep. With a picture of the two of us giving a thumbs up.
Perfect.
I have to meet Zoe Thorogood in order for.
And
so anyway,
she's British, so that's gonna be a trip.
Yes, she is. It's true. It's gonna be tough. But Steve, you were saying how people should like and subscribe, and you should be our 100th YouTube subscriber, I think, as well.
Yeah, whoever subscribes next has got that wonderful title of 100th YouTube.
And tell us if it's
subscriber.
you.
Yeah, let us know.
If it's you, tell us, and we'll thank you personally.
If you see it roll over, you let us know, and awesome, thank you a ton.
Yes, awesome, thank you a ton.
Beyond that, on the podcast side, if you're listening to this in your ear holes, feel free to leave us a 5-star review on Apple iTunes. I believe it's not iTunes anymore, but I believe Mr. Karki is planning on leaving us a review with a sourdough recipe, since he just gave me the starter back that I started for him 5 years ago when COVID hit.
Wow. Okay.
I've killed it 4 times since then. I've tried this multiple times. He's still got it going. So.
All right. Well. Yeah, if you give us a recipe with a 5-star review, as long as it's not the most complicated cookie recipe in the history of cookie recipes, we'll make it and eat it while we're on the show. We've been saying this for a year now, or close to a year, must be. But we haven't actually done it because the only recipe we've gotten with a 5-star review is the most complicated cookie recipe in history, and neither of us have the energy to do that. But other than that, we promise that we will eat your food on mic, and everyone will love listening to us eat while talking. It'll be great. Everyone loves podcasters that do that. Just kidding. Everyone hates it, but we'll do it anyway. I've heard complaints about it from other podcasts I listen to, yeah. But anyway, enough of me talking, because I've been talking a long time, and so is Steve, and it's time for us to stop. It's time for you to stop listening to us. So I will say, as the two suns set over the burnt corpses of Owen and Baru Lars, we say thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the multiverse.